100 rated chess, but Edward the E-pawn cannot die. All hail Edward the E-pawn. Way too easy. We get a 184 from Sri Lanka. E4. Okay, of course I wouldn't want to push Edward forward into the center of the board. At least not this early into the game. I'll push David instead. I'll say that the challenge only affects my E-pawn, because only my E-pawn can be Edward. Opponent's E-pawn is something like Eminem, Amelia, or something else rather than Edward. F4. D takes E4. Alright, my E-pawn landed on the E-file, but he is definitely not the E-pawn. David can die whenever I think he can die. Queen H5. Very aggressive. Knight F6. Queen E5. Knight C6. I mean, even though his queen is attacking my E-pawn and a random capture is going to immediately end this video. But who plays like that anyway? Right? I never had any doubts. Bishop D7. Queen C5. Aha. Here we go. E6. Pushing the E-pawn that needs to be protected at all costs is a bit risky. But I mean, since there is currently nothing that can attack the E-pawn, opening up my bishop for a sneaky discovered attack on his queen that can lead up to an early resignation isn't really a bad idea. Right? My opponent sees it. I'll gambit a pawn. Queen takes E4. Bishop D6. Well, I mean, now his queen can once again capture my E-pawn and immediately end this video. But since we have seen this guy avoiding all the attacks so far, including a very difficult to see discovered attack, there is physically no way he's gonna blunder his queen to my very defended E-pawn right here. Right? Ha! Doubters. I'll sacrifice this knight. G takes F4. Queen H4 check. King E2. Very aggressive. And I mean, since he's just lost his ability to castle. Castle. D3. Rook Fe8. Providing another defender on my E-pawn, not really necessary. But as a wise man once said, better be safe than pregnant. Knight F3. Queen F6. Rook G1. Alright. Here we go. Pawn to E5. The absolutely greatest move of the position, and even though now there are multiple ways for him to take my E-pawn, I mean, he should be able to see that knight takes E5 is blundering a knight to bishop takes E5, because if his pawn recaptures my bishop, there is rook takes E5 pinning his queen to his king and I win a free queen. Or if pawn takes C5, there is also bishop takes E5 threatening to go bishop takes B2, attacking his rook, while also allows my rook to have a discovered pin on his queen and king. We don't even need to consider queen takes C5. It is very easy to see that my E-pawn is absolutely not available to be captured here. Right? He sees everything. Knight D4 check. King F2. Knight takes F3. King takes F3. Aha. Pawn takes on F4. The absolutely best move of the position, and even though now there are two more ways for him to capture my E-pawn, I mean, he should be able to see that queen takes F4 is obviously blundering his queen to my bishop, and bishop takes F4 is hanging his queen to my rook that has already been there since a long time ago. Right? Of course he sees everything. That blunders a queen. Okay, now there is once again bishop takes F4 ending the video, but I mean, he still should be able to see that bishop takes F4 is actually allowing me to go bishop H3, controlling all of his king's retreating squares while also pinning his bishop to his king, which will soon lead to a very simple and easy to see checkmate in 6. Right? Of course. Queen takes F5. H4. Queen H3 check. King F2 is forced. F3. removing my pawn from being captured by opponent's bishop. Of course everyone knows I always keep the video safe and never take any unnecessary risks. d4. Rook e2 check. King g1. Pawn to f2. Checkmate with the very e-pawn that I had to defend. Mission accomplished.